Say it again. You pulled a child that wasn't yours through that door, and you locked it.
I locked that door so the man in the lot couldn't finish loading the other one into his car.
There is no other one. There's a boy, 4 years old, not related to you, that you dragged into a locked building at 11 at night.
There's a woman, his mother. She's in a dark sedan headed north on Route 9 while we sit here.
That's not what the camera shows.
Then your camera started rolling 90 seconds too late.
You want to know what the camera shows? It shows you. Just you. The camera does not lie, Mr. Callahan.
No. It just doesn't show the part where she was already gone.
Walk me through your night. From the top?
So he did. But to understand the night, go back 2 hours, before the sirens, before the cuffs, before a man who spent his life learning to see what nobody else saw got branded the monster he'd hunted. 2 hours earlier, it had just been raining. The store sat alone on a 2-lane highway, a bright box of light in nothing but wet asphalt and dark. Reed worked nights because nights were quiet, and the pay was just enough to keep a roof over him and his daughter if he never got sick. Nella was asleep on a cot in the back office between the mop sink and the safe, 9 years old, an orange whistle clipped to the backpack she used as a pillow. He checked on her the way he checked everything, a slow sweep, counting without meaning to. One car at the far pump. One woman deciding between 2 brands of aspirin. One clock above the door, reading 10:51. Then a car pulled into the lot and parked wrong. Most people wouldn't have caught it. It wasn't illegal. It was parked passenger side away from the lights, nose out for a fast exit, in the one spot the camera didn't quite reach. A man got out, stood in the rain like he didn't mind it, and went not toward the doors but to the back passenger door, and stood there waiting, the way you wait for something to be handed to you. Reed felt the old thing wake up in his chest. The thing he'd spent 9 years trying to put to sleep, a woman in that back seat, young, not getting out on her own, and a child who had spent 11 years reading exactly this. The small wrong geometry of a person being moved against their will by someone smiling. He'd been the best some years, and walked away from all of it, because reading the signs turned out to mean nothing on the one night it was his own front porch. The woman set the aspirin on the counter. Just this, on the house, Reed said, not looking at her, watching the lot. Go on home. Drive safe. She took her aspirin and left, because people do what a calm voice tells them at 11 at night. Now it was just Reed, the sleeping child behind him, and the car in the dark. Come on, Reed said under his breath, watching. Get out on your own. Please just get out on your own. She didn't. That told him the last thing he needed to know. The man reached into the back seat. The young woman came out stiff, a hand on her arm that was not helping, guiding her toward the front of the car and away from the child. And the boy, maybe 4, was left standing at the edge of the light in the rain, in that frozen way small children go when the world stops making sense. Reed keyed the store phone and dialed 3 numbers he had not dialed in 9 years, and with his other hand reached under the counter for the orange whistle he kept there, the twin of the one on his daughter's backpack. 911, what's your emergency? I need police at the roadside market on Route 9, south of the county line right now. I've got a woman being forced into a vehicle and a child left in the lot. This is a trafficking handoff in progress. I know what I'm looking at. Send everyone you have. Sir, I need you to stay inside and lock the... Listen to me, Reed said into the phone, low and fast, already moving toward the door. The woman is the target. The child is leverage. If that car leaves this lot, you will not find either of them. I have done this work. I am not guessing. Every second you spend telling me to stay inside is a second that door is still open. But the boy had taken a step toward the car, toward the man, toward the exact place no child should ever go. There's a rule in the work Reed used to do, the first one they teach you. You do not let the second person get in the car. Once the door closes, the lot becomes a highway, and the highway becomes a country you do not get people back from. He had taught that rule to others, failed it once himself, and spent 9 years paying for it. I was out the door before he made the decision to be. Hey! His voice cut across the lot, flat and enormous. Store's the only thing open for 20 miles. Bring them in, out of the rain. The man did not flinch. He looked at Reed across the wet lot and smiled. And the smile was the worst thing Reed had seen in 9 years, because it was comfortable. We're fine, Chief. Family thing. My sister had too much. I'm getting her home. He put a hand on the young woman's shoulder, gentle for a camera that wasn't there. Kid's mine. Go back inside and ring up your beer. Then let her tell me that herself. She's not really talking right now. Still smiling. You really want to be the guy who makes a scene over a family putting a tired kid in a car? Big fella like you, sticking his hands in. Think about how that looks on a camera. He tilted his head at the lens in the corner. And for one instant Reed understood the man knew exactly where that camera was, and exactly what it would and would not see. Go inside, Chief. This isn't your night. It was the smartest thing the man could have said, and the cruelest, because it froze Reed for half a second, a stranger who knew about the camera, and in that half second the man's face dropped the smile and did the thing Reed had seen too many times, the fast cold math of someone deciding a problem could be solved quickly. The man shoved the young woman into the front seat and slammed the door. Reed did the only thing the 90 seconds allowed. Not the man, who might have had anything in his waistband, not with a child a foot away. He went for the boy, scooped him up against his chest, turned his own body into a wall between the child and the car, and carried him toward the only safe lit room for 20 miles. You're okay, I've got you, the boy screamed. Of course he screamed. A stranger the size of a door had just lifted him off the ground, and he did not know the door was on his side. He twisted and reached back toward the car, toward his mother, screaming the oldest word there is. Behind him the car engine roared. Reed turned in time to see it fishtail out of the lot, throwing a sheet of water. In the passenger window, for one instant, a young woman's face, mouth open, one hand flat against the glass. Then the dark on Route 9 swallowed it whole. He carried the boy inside and locked the door, because that man might come back, and there was now a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old in the building, and one of Reed. He set the boy down behind the counter, away from the glass, and crouched to his level. My name's Reed. That man is gone. He's not coming back. The police are coming, and they're going to help your mom. He pressed the orange whistle into the boy's shaking hands. Because you give a frightened child a job. You hold this. If you get scared, blow it 3 times and I'll come. 3 blows means Dad's coming. That's the deal my kids and I have, and tonight you're one of mine. Okay? The boy clutched the whistle and did not blow it and did not stop crying. Dad? Nella's voice, small. From the office doorway. She was rubbing her eyes, just woken. Why's there a little kid? His mom's in trouble. He's going to wait with us till the police come. His name's Theo. Is he scared? Very. Then he should have my whistle. She crossed the store in her socks and crouched by the boy, closer than Reed would have dared, the way children reach children. It's okay. 3 blows means Dad's coming. That's the rule, and he always comes, every time. I promise. Theo didn't answer, but he stopped screaming, and he looked at her, and that was something. And above the door, the store camera kept doing the one thing it had been doing all along. It recorded the last 4 seconds. A big man. A screaming child he did not know. A locked door. It did not record the rain, or the car parked wrong, or the woman's hand on the glass. Cameras don't. They only ever see the end. And the end of this one, sound off and context gone, looked exactly like the thing Reed had spent his life trying to stop. The first cruiser took 11 minutes, and in them, Reed did everything right, and every single thing would later be read back to him as wrong. He kept the boy calm, kept Nella back, and wrote on the back of a receipt everything he'd seen. Dark sedan, older, the partial plate from the pump lights, the direction, the time, 10:53. He was still holding the receipt out when the deputies came through the door, hands near their belts, eyes going straight to the biggest thing in the room. Him. Sir, step back from the child. Hands where I can see them. His mother was taken. Dark sedan, headed north on 9. Gone 11 minutes now. That is 10 miles of road and every one of them still catchable if somebody moves. Sir, step back from the child. Reed put the receipt on the counter and raised his empty hands and stepped back. He knew, none better, that a large, calm man standing near a crying child he could not explain was the most dangerous shape in the world to walk in on. The only way through it was slow. "Does he know you?" a deputy asked the boy, crouching. "Did this man hurt you?" The boy said nothing. He had not said a word since the one he'd screamed in the lot. He only clutched the orange whistle and shook. They asked if he knew this man. Nothing. They asked if this man had hurt him. Nothing. Shock does that, and Reed knew how a silent child reads in a report. However, the person writing it already decided it would. "He won't say a word," one deputy told another. "Not quite enough. Kid's terrified of the guy." "That's shock, not fear of me," Reed said. He watched his mother pulled into a car 20 minutes ago. Reed raised his hands, open, and understood he was going to be doing that a great deal. Detective Otero arrived at 11:40 and watched the footage exactly once. 4 seconds. A man, a child, a door. She watched Reed's face while it played, and he watched hers, and neither found what they were hoping for. There was a woman and a second man. I gave the deputies a partial plate. Everything I'm telling you's written on a system out on that highway. You don't have to believe me. Just go look. You know a lot about what cameras are where, Otero said. I used to work in a field where knowing that was the whole job. And what field is that? The kind that teaches you a parking lot at midnight has more eyes on it than anybody parked in it realizes. You just have to know which ones, and how to ask. Used to? Past tense. Why past tense? And there it was, the door he had kept shut for 9 years, swinging open in a fluorescent store at midnight. He didn't walk through it. Not yet. I used to pay attention, he said. By morning it had a name, and it was not his. Somebody leaked the 4 seconds. That's all it takes now. 4 seconds and a caption on them. By noon the clip was on 3 local pages. And climbing. A big man hauling a screaming boy through a door, and under it the words that would follow Reed into every room for a month. Night shift cashier. Grabs child. By evening, the softer, deadlier version. Local father questioned in gas station abduction. Somewhere in the comments a stranger typed the word that stuck, kidnapper, and 10,000 people agreed with a stranger, about a man none of them had met. Reed was released the next afternoon on conditions, because the boy was safe and unharmed and there was as yet no other evidence, only 4 seconds that pointed one way. No contact with the child, whose name he learned was Theo. No leaving the county. And one more thing, delivered by a calm woman in a gray cardigan waiting at his apartment when he got home. "Mr. Callahan, my name is Ainsley Corliss, Child Protective Services." She had a lanyard and a soft voice and a folder, and Reed had learned long ago to be afraid of soft voices with folders. "I'm not here about the boy. I'm here about your daughter." The floor of the world tilted about 2 degrees and stayed there. "Nella's fine. Nella was asleep in the back." Nella was present in the building during an incident involving the alleged abduction of a minor, in the care of a man now under criminal investigation. I don't get to decide whether that's fair. I only get to decide whether I can look at your family and check a box that says she's safe. Right now, with what's in the news and what's in the file, I can't check that box. "She was asleep in the back," Reed said. "She never even saw the lot. How is she less safe tonight than she was yesterday?" "She isn't, but safety isn't what I measure, Mr. Callahan. I measure what a file looks like to the next person who opens it. And right now your file has a viral abduction video and a child who won't corroborate your story." Corliss's voice stayed gentle, which was the worst part. "I believe you might be exactly what you say you are. I've been doing this long enough to have a feeling. But I can't file a feeling." She held out a paper. "There's going to be a review. Until then, understand how close this is. If it goes the wrong way, you don't lose your name. You lose her. So between now and then, give me something I can file." Reed took the paper. His hand did not shake, because he had trained it not to, but underneath the trained calm. 9-year-old wound tore open along its old seam. He had already lost one daughter to a night he read wrong. Now a camera that read "One night wrong" was going to take the other. Nella found the whistle line before he found the words. She was at the kitchen table, not doing homework, and he was pretending to make dinner. And she said without looking up, "The boy, Theo, you gave him my whistle. The orange one." "I did." "Why?" Reed turned off the burner and sat down across from his daughter. He decided, the way you decide the biggest things all at once and quietly, that she was old enough for a piece of the truth. "A long time before you, I had a job finding people who were being taken. Women, kids, bad people, move them through gas stations and rest stops and bus depots. In the open, because the open is where nobody looks closely. My job was to look closely. To see the little wrong thing everybody else drove past." He turned the salt shaker, a slow quarter turn, the way he turned everything when the pressure was up. "I was good at it, Nella. I want you to know your dad was good at something." "What happened?" "The one he'd been not answering for 9 years. I had another daughter. Before you, Etta." He said the name out loud in his own kitchen, and it cost him something visible. "She was 12. One afternoon at a bus station, I saw a thing that was wrong. A man and a girl and a geometry that was off. And I was tired and off the clock, and I told myself it was nothing. I looked right at it, and I filed it under nothing. It wasn't Etta that time. It was some other man's daughter, and she's the reason I learned the signs so well afterward." He stopped. "And then one day it was Etta. A different station, a different man. By the time I understood what I was seeing, the door had already closed, and 11 years of knowing the signs did not bring her back." Nella was very quiet. Then she said the thing that broke him and saved him in the same breath. "Did you look for her?" "For years, every parking lot in 4 states. I learned to read them so well I could tell you which cars were wrong from clear across a lot, and I never once found the one that mattered." He set the salt shaker down. "You want the truth about your dad, Nella? I didn't take the night shift because it's quiet. I took it because a lit store on a dark road is exactly the kind of place she might walk into someday. I've been watching that door for years, just in case. So this time," she said, "you didn't file it under nothing." "No, baby." He had to look at the table. "This time I didn't." "Then you did it right. 9 years old, and certain of it. It doesn't matter what the camera saw. You did it right, and I'm going to keep knowing it even if everybody else is stupid." Reed put his hand over his daughter's small hand on the table, and for the first time since the rain, the trained calm cracked, and a father who had lost one girl and was being asked to lose another put his head down and let her see it. Released on conditions meant he couldn't work, couldn't leave the county, couldn't go near the one witness who was 4 and couldn't talk. It did not mean he had to sit still, and sitting still was the one thing 11 years of training had made impossible. "They keep looking at the wrong camera," he told Nella, spreading a county map on the table, the paper one from the glove box because the internet felt like a place they were watching him now. "The store camera only sees the door, 4 seconds. But a parking lot at night is the most watched place in America, if you know who's watching." "Who's watching?" "Everybody but the store." He tapped the highway. "There's an automatic plate reader on the county line here. State runs it. It photographs every plate, stamps the time. That sedan drove under it, going north at about 10:58, and that photo exists whether anybody likes it or not." He moved his finger across the road from the store. "And here, the gas station across Route 9 faces our lot. Their camera looks right at the spot that man parked in, the spot our camera can't reach. Between those two, somebody recorded the 90 seconds my store missed. The whole story's out there in pieces. I just have to be the one who knows to go collect it." "You don't read a person by the last 4 seconds, Nella said. Reed looked up. "Where'd you get that?" You say it in your sleep, kind of." She shrugged. "You've said it my whole life." "I say it in my sleep?" Reed almost smiled, the first time in days. "Kind of, it's a good line." She shrugged. "I figured it out when I was 7. He hadn't known that. He filed it. A small warm thing in a cold week." "That's right," he said. "You read them by all the seconds nobody bothered to keep. That's the whole job, the one everybody thinks a store camera can do for them, and it can't. Problem is, I'm not allowed to ask either one, Reed said. Out on conditions. The second I knock on doors about this case, they can say I'm interfering. He looked at the phone he wasn't supposed to use for this. I need the mother. If she got away, she's the one person the system has to open those doors for. And she's the one person, besides me, that nobody's going to want to believe. She came to the store on the 6th day, in the afternoon, when he'd stopped by to clean out his locker, because Beckwith had let him go by text message. I knew her before she said a word. The young woman from the car, thinner than she'd looked in the rain. A boy on her hip who buried his face the second he saw the store. Two enormous things at once. She had gotten away, and the boy was hers. You're the man from the news, she said. The one they're calling. She couldn't say it. You're the one who took Theo out of the lot. I am. They caught me at a rest stop, 2 counties over. It got complicated, but I got away from the man, and the first thing I did was try to find my son. And they showed me the video and told me a stranger grabbed him, and I said no. That man saved him, and they looked at me like... Her voice cracked. Like I was confused. Like a mother who'd been through something couldn't be trusted to know who saved her own child. Reed felt the specific cold that comes when you watch the thing happen to someone else, exactly the way it happened to you. You told the detective, he said, you told Otero, that I intervened, that the man was the threat, not me. I told her everything, twice, and I watched her decide how much of it to believe. And I have watched people decide how much of me to believe my whole life, and I know that look. A young black woman pulled out of a car at midnight is not, to certain people, a reliable witness. Neither, apparently, is the man who stopped it. She laughed, no humor in it. The 2 people who were actually there, and we're the 2 they trust the least. Theo turned his head then, just enough to look at Reed, and one small hand came out holding something orange. The whistle. He had kept it. He decided you're safe. A detective decided you're a kidnapper. Same boy. Dami shook her head. How does that happen? 'Cause she watched 4 seconds and he lived the whole 90. Reed stood slowly. That's the whole case in one sentence. He won't put it down, Dami said softly. He doesn't talk since. But he won't put down the whistle. Reed crouched, a careful distance, the way you approach a frightened thing. That's the deal we made, buddy. You keep it. You blow it if you're scared. He looked up at the mother. The system doesn't believe either of us. Okay. Then we stop trying to be believed and start giving them something they can't argue with. On the 9th day, Otero brought him in again. No coffee, and a folder thick enough to mean she had done her homework. I've been reading about you. She slid a page over. You want to tell me what you used to do, or should I? You've decided to. 11 years, a non-profit that trains people to spot trafficking in transit hubs. Bus depots, truck stops, gas stations. She turned a page. You were good. Then you quit. No notice. Never worked the field again. You got the quietest job a man can get. A register on a dark road. She looked up. Why does a man that good just stop? That's not in your folder? I want to hear you say it. Reed was quiet. He had decided he would not perform his own worst night for a woman building a case. No, he said. Then I'll tell you what I think. She folded her hands. You spent 11 years seeing trafficking in every parking lot in America, and got so used to it, you started seeing it whether it was there or not. A man like that, tired, broke, working nights, watches a family have a hard moment in a lot, and his broken wiring lights up, and he grabs a child. Certain he's a hero. She let it sit. That's not a monster. That's worse for you. A sick man who thinks he's a good one. A judge feels sorry for that man, then takes his daughter somewhere safe. You read about Etta, he said quietly. Something crossed her face. I read that you had a daughter who went missing. Yes, and you put it in the file as a reason I can't be trusted around children. He did not raise his voice, but the room got colder. You took the worst thing that ever happened to me and turned it into evidence that I'm dangerous. That's the exact move he made in the parking lot. The man you're not looking for. He arranged the truth so it pointed at the wrong person. You're doing his job for him. With my dead daughter's name. She's not confirmed dead. No, she's not. Which means somewhere out there is a grown woman who was taken because a man saw the signs and filed them under nothing, me. And you're telling me the problem is that I see the signs too clearly now. He leaned forward. You want to know why a good man stops? He doesn't. He never stops. He moves somewhere dark and quiet and waits every night for the one time he can get it right. And it came. And I did not file it under nothing. And you charged me for it. Otero did not answer right away. She looked at the folder she had built, and for the first time a crack of doubt walked across a face that had been certain for 9 days. Interview's over, she said finally, her voice not as steady as it had been. Pull the plate reader, detective. Reed stood and let the deputy move him. South of the county line, 1058. It's been telling the truth to nobody, because the only person who knew to ask is the one you locked out. That's the part that should scare you. Not that I saw it. That without me, nobody ever would have. They walked him out. And behind him, alone with a folder that had felt airtight an hour ago, Otero sat for a long time and did not open it again. Detective Otero was not a villain, which was the hard part. She had 53 open cases and a lieutenant who wanted the headline closed before it became a story about how it happened on their highway. The clean version closes in a week. The true one could take months and might never close at all. Close it clean, her lieutenant told her in the hallway, the way lieutenants say things that are actually instructions. We've got a clean clip and a suspect and a story that closes. Don't turn a closed thing into an open one because a witness in crisis is confused. And Otero had stood there and known, the way you know things you choose not to say out loud, that clean and true were not the same word. She chose the clean version. She was human, and she was tired, and she chose it. And having chosen it, she started building it, the way you do, finding the shape of the man that fit the frame she'd already made. And then it reached Nella, the way these things reach the children. She came home on the 12th day with her jaw set in the way that meant she had decided not to cry, and it took him 20 minutes and half a grilled cheese to get it out of her. A kid said they're going to take me away. Flat. Terrible. He said his mom said you're the gas station kidnapper, and they take kids away from kidnappers, so I should get used to it. She looked up, furious and 9. I told him my dad saves kids, he doesn't take them. And everybody laughed, because of the video. Reed got down on one knee, below her eyeline, the way he'd once been taught to calm a frightened person, never dreaming he'd use it on his own kid in his own kitchen. Look at me, nobody is taking you anywhere. Not tonight, not ever. You hear me? You can't promise that. That lady with the folder, she said, I hear you, and I'm telling you I have been in the dark before, all the way in it, with no way out that I could see. And I learned something in there that I need you to learn now, tonight, from me instead of the hard way. He held her eyes. The truth doesn't disappear because nobody's looking at it yet. It just waits. And your dad is very, very good at finding the thing that's waiting where nobody looked. For 3 days, the waiting truth looked like it might come when he called it. Then it didn't. The plate reader photo existed. The gas station across the road had 30 days of footage aimed straight at the spot the store camera missed. From his kitchen table, with a county map and 11 years of knowing where to look, Reed had found the exact 2 records that would show the 90 seconds before his 4. He had done the impossible part, and then he ran into the wall that stops most innocent men, which is not a lack of truth but a surplus of procedure. The plate reader data was sealed, released only to the lead investigator by formal request, and the lead investigator was Otero, who had chosen her version and had no interest in blowing it up. The gas station footage belonged to a business that, once its lot was attached to the words trafficking and kidnapper on the news, lawyered up rather than hand a tape to a man out on conditions. The whole story was out there. He'd been right. And every door to it was locked by someone protecting themselves. And he was, by court order, the one man not allowed to knock. He sat at the kitchen table that night with the 2 useless addresses circled, feeling the specific exhaustion of a man who has done everything right and watched it not be enough. It was the same exhaustion that had put him behind a night shift register in the first place. Nella climbed into the chair across from him. She'd been over to see Dami and the boy twice now. 2 kids drawing while the adults tried to save each other, and she slid a piece of paper across to her father. Theo drew the car, she said. He won't talk, but he draws it over and over. Look, a 4-year-old's car, a dark scribble box. But on the back, careful and insistent, a small yellow rectangle, and beside it a shape drawn again and again. That's a sticker, Nella said. On the back window. He drew it 9 times, so I think he really saw it. She pulled out her own notebook. Dad, the night of the rain, when the police were there, I looked out the window while everybody was yelling and I wrote down the car too. Because you taught me, if something's wrong, write down what you see. She turned her page. A dark box, and on the back a small rectangle and a shape. Mine matches his, and neither of us could have copied the other because we didn't meet till 3 days after. Reed looked at the 2 drawings, side by side, one from a boy who couldn't speak and one from a girl the whole town had decided to pity, and felt the thing turn over in his chest. He thought had died on Route 9. Is that good? Nella asked. That's the whole case, baby. That's the thing they can't argue with. He held the 2 pages up to the light, side by side. A grown man says it. They call it a defense. A detective says it. She can bury it. But 2 kids who never met, drawing the same sticker at 2 different tables? He shook his head slowly. There's not a lawyer alive who can explain that away. Nella, he said slowly. You 2 just made a witness nobody thought to silence. Nobody counts a child's drawing as a camera. The custody review was set for the 16th day in a low-carpeted room that was not a courtroom and was somehow worse, because nobody had to prove anything beyond a doubt. They only had to decide whether a little girl was safe with her father, and the easy answer was already halfway written. 4 seconds of video clip to a folder. Ainsley Corliss had her recommendation ready. Otero was there too, and Reed came in with Nella beside him. Dami and Theo 2 rows back, and set 3 things on the table, one at a time. A county map with 2 addresses circled, 2 children's drawings, and the orange whistle, which Theo had pressed into Reed's hand at the door without a word. Alone for the fight. Before you sign that, Reed said, let me fill in the 90 seconds before the 4, and I want to do it with things none of us in this room can bend. Mr. Callahan, this isn't a trial. I'm here to decide about Nella, not solve a crime. That's why I'm not asking you to believe me. A man defending himself will say anything. I know that better than you do, so I won't be the one who says it. He looked at the back of the room. She is. Ms. Yates, this is a custody matter, not the criminal case. I understand everybody in this room already decided the man who saved my son is the dangerous one, and the woman saying otherwise is confused. I understand that fine. Dami's voice didn't rise. Now let me tell you what happened, and then let a machine and 2 children tell you I'm not confused. Dami stood. My name is Damaris Yates. That man in the video everyone keeps sharing pulled my son out of a car he was about to disappear into. I was in that car. I have told this to Detective Otero twice, and both times I watched her decide I was too messed up to know what I saw. She kept her voice level, and level cost her everything. So I stopped talking to people who'd already decided, and I did what he told my son to do. I found the thing you can't argue with, and here Otero did the thing that made her, in the end, not a villain, but a person. That morning, she had done the one piece Reed could not. She had pulled the plate reader photo, because Dami's formal complaint made it her job, and once it was her job, she could not unsee it. She stood up, and she did not look at Reed. She looked at the CPS worker, and she said it plainly, like a woman setting down something she should have set down 2 weeks earlier. The state plate reader on the county line photographed a dark sedan going north at 10:58 the night of the incident. I pulled it this morning. She laid the photo on the table. The gas station across the road shows the same sedan. Enter our lot at 10:52 and park outside the store. Cameras range. And Mr. Callahan come out 38 seconds later, after the threat was already there, not before. So I know he told the truth about the shape of that night. She let out a breath. What I don't have is the man. The plate on this photo is wet and half lit. Our lab pulled 3 characters and a blur. The rental sticker on the back window is a smear. I can tell you a sedan did this. I can't tell you whose. And there it sat, the wall that stops most innocent men. The truth. And no way to close a hand around it. May I? Reed said. He reached past the blurry photo for the 2 crayon drawings and set them beside it. This was the move only he could make, the only one in the room ever paid to know. A witness does not have to be an adult, or a camera, to be one. Your machine caught a smear because it was raining and the car was moving, Reed said, but it wasn't raining inside 2 children's heads. This is Theo. 4. Hasn't said a word since that night, draws that car over and over, and every time he puts a yellow rectangle on the back window, and beside it, this. He touched the shape. And this is Nella, 9. Wrote down what she saw through the store glass while everyone was yelling, because I taught her to. Same window, same rectangle, same shape. And they had never met when they drew it. A shape, Corliss said carefully. A child's shape. A logo. Reed laid his hand flat on the table, the way you set down the last card. A rental company decal. 4 national chains put a colored placard exactly there. Only one uses that color and that mark. I spent 11 years reading these lots. I can name the company from across one. And these 2 just drew it twice, from 2 angles, on 2 different days. He looked at Otero. You've got 3 plate characters and a blur. Run them against that one company's fleet. This region, that night. Your machine narrowed it to 1,000 cars. These kids narrowed it to a list you can count on one hand. The room was very quiet, the specific quiet of people watching a locked door come open. Reed watched the exact second Otero stopped seeing a defense and started seeing a lead. Detective, Corliss said slowly. Is he right? He's right, Otero was writing. 3 characters against 1 rental fleet in 1 county. I can have a name before end of day. She stopped writing. She looked at the partial plate in her own notes, and then she looked at Reed, and something moved behind her eyes that was close to sick. These 3 characters, they are not from the lab. She said it slowly, like a woman reading her own sentence. They are off the back of a register receipt you handed my deputy at 11 o'clock that night. It has been in my evidence box for 16 days. You gave us the plate before we ever put the cuffs on you, and we filed it. And we cuffed the man who handed it over. No, they did. Reed nodded at the 2 children at the back of the room. I just knew what they'd drawn. He picked the whistle back up off the table. You don't read a person by the last 4 seconds, he said. And he was not talking to the table anymore. He was talking to Otero, and to the woman with the folder, and to 10,000 strangers who would never hear it. You read them by all the seconds nobody bothered to keep. You had my worst 4 seconds on a screen. These kids kept the rest. He closed his hand around the orange plastic, around 11 years. You made me miss it once, he said, and only Nella knew he wasn't talking to anyone in that room. He was talking to a bus station 11 years gone. You don't get to make me miss it again. It came apart fast after that, the way built things do when you pull the true piece out from under them. The company and the 3 plate characters together gave the state police a thread. It led to the man on Route 9, and to 2 other lots in 2 other counties, to the thing that had been running that highway in the dark while everyone watched 4 seconds of the wrong man. They took the man 3 days later, at a motel 2 states over, from a rental sedan with a yellow decal on the lower left of the rear glass, exactly where a boy who couldn't speak had drawn it 9 times. Reed heard it from Otero, who called instead of texting, which told him something had shifted. He had 2 more pickups scheduled off that same highway this month. We got the schedule off his phone. A pause. You want to know what he said when we brought him in? He looked at the whole thing coming down on a child's crayon drawing, and he laughed. Said no jury believes a 4-year-old. He was still saying it when the rental company's own records backed the kids up to the letter. Machines and children, Reed said. The only 2 witnesses in the country with nothing to gain. He picked the one road watched by both and never knew it. The custody file on Nella closed. Ainsley Corliss came to close it in person, which she did not have to do. "I check a box that says a child is safe," she said. "I checked it wrong at first, off a headline. I wanted to check it right in person." She looked at Nella, doing homework at the same table where all of it had been decided. "You have a good dad. I'm sorry it took me 2 weeks and 2 children's drawings to write that down." The correction did not travel the way the accusation had. It never does, but it traveled. The county released the full sequence. The 4 seconds everyone shared and the 90 nobody had seen, cut in order. The sedan nosing into the dark corner. The mother not getting out on her own. The boy left in the rain. And then, only then, the big man coming out of the store. Watched whole, it was not a monster grabbing a child. It was the only person in frame who moved toward the danger instead of away. Some of the same pages that had typed Kidnapper now shared the long version. Fewer, quieter, but some. Beckwith called on a Thursday, the franchise owner who had fired Reed by text the week the clip went viral, his voice now full of warmth. "Reed, hell of a thing how it turned out. Your spot's still open, night shift, and honestly with all the attention, I think folks would come just to, well, what do you say? Come back." "You fired me in a text," Reed said. 9 words. I counted. He wasn't angry, he was past angry, into something quieter. You learn who's standing next to you, by who's still there, when the camera says the wrong thing. You weren't. That's not a grudge, Beckwith. It's information. I'm going to work for somebody who had my back before it was easy. He hung up, and he did not think about it again. Otero came too, once. And she and Reed stood in the lot of his building where no camera was pointed at anything. "I took the version that closed in a week," she said. "You told me the first night to just go look. I didn't. I'm going to be slower now, about people who don't fit the frame." She almost smiled. "You'd have made a hell of a detective. I was one, a different kind." Reed watched the rain start on the windshield. "I don't want to catch people after the door closes. I spent 11 years doing that. And you know what that job actually is? It's writing down the names of the ones you were too late for. And now I hand out whistles." Reed watched Theo through the window, drawing next to Nella, an orange whistle beside his crayons. "I spent 11 years arriving after the door already closed. That kid in there is the first time in a long time I got there before it did." Otero followed his gaze to the boy, and for a moment neither of them said anything. 2 people who had both looked at the same 4 seconds and seen different men. Theo spoke on a Sunday, at Reed's kitchen table. The boy had come by with his mother for weeks and never said a word, just drew. That Sunday he finished a picture, turned it around, and pushed it across the table to Reed. A big stick figure, a small one held against its chest, rain in slanted blue lines. "That's you," Theo said. The whole table went still. His first words in a month, 3 of them, flat and certain. Dami's hand went to her mouth. Nella froze with a crayon in the air. "That's me," Reed agreed, keeping his voice level. The way you keep it level when a frightened thing finally comes toward you. "And who's that I'm holding?" Theo looked at him like it was obvious. "Me, you came." He picked up the orange whistle and held it up. Evidence. "I didn't even blow it. And you still came." Reed Callahan, who had trained his hands not to shake, put both flat on the table and let his head go down. And this time he did not hide it. A 4-year-old who had not spoken, in a month watched a grown man cry over a crayon drawing and did not seem frightened at all. "They believed a machine and 2 kids before they believed either of us," Dami said at the door. "The last people anybody trusted were the 2 who were actually there." "It means we teach the kids to write it down," Reed said. "All of it, every time, because someday they're the ones who'll be standing in the lot." Dami and Theo did not disappear back into the dark the highway had almost swallowed them into. She got help, the real kind, and a job 2 towns over. And every so often she drove the boy back to draw at Reed's table. 2 single parents and 2 kids who had made a witness the world couldn't silence, sitting in the warm with the door unlocked. It's a year later. Reed works days at a hardware store where the manager knew the whole story and hired him anyway. The only person who ever brings up the video is Reed. when he uses it to teach. Because that's the thing he does now. Quietly. Small rooms, church basements, a night class for new parents. Teaching people what a parking lot really looks like when someone is being moved through it. I'm not an expert, he tells them every time. I just learned to look at the 90 seconds instead of the 4. The woman not getting out on her own. The car parked nose out in the one dark spot. You can learn it too. That's the whole point. He is turning a whole county into the thing he used to be, so the next person in a lit box on a dark road might see it a little sooner than he did. Theo talks again. There's a second whistle now, orange, on Nella's backpack, because Reed buys them by the bag and hands them to every kid who'll take one. Here's the thing worth carrying out of this. You don't read a person by the last 4 seconds. We've taught ourselves to trust that little rectangle over the whole person in front of us. So next time a screen hands you 4 seconds and asks you to be sure, ask what happened in the 90 before it started rolling. Ask who got left out of frame. Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done the moment you saw that car park, nose out in the dark, with a kid in the back and nobody getting out on their own. Nella still has her whistle. She's 10 now. And too cool for most things, but not for that. 3 blows means Dad's coming. You know I'm too old for the whistle thing, she told him once, testing it. You know I'll come anyway. Whistle or no whistle. That was never really about the whistle. I know, she said, and kept it clipped to her backpack anyway. She's never had to use it, but she keeps it where she can reach it, because some promises you keep just by being the kind of man who would answer.